We begin with this Fox News alert. The new Congress gaveling in at any moment now. It is straight up noon, and that means because they do not have a Speaker of the House yet, everybody goes back to Congressman-elect or Congresswoman-elect. We will be watching very closely this hour if Republicans are going to retain power or let Nancy Pelosi pick in a fill-in clerk until they can figure out who the Speaker will be. The opening session will kick off 2 years of an intense battle over everything from immigration policy to inflation. But before it all happens, as I said, Republicans will first have to elect a new speaker. Kevin McCarthy is having big problems with his bid for the position. Minutes ago, he said he won't drop out. And even though the House could go to a second vote for the first time in 100 years, wow. On the Senate side, Mitch McConnell is poised to make history, but for a very different reason. Hello. This is Outnumbered. Happy New Year. I'm Harris Faulkner here with my co-host Emily Campagno. Also joining us today, Kennedy, Dr. Jeanette Neshwat, and Bill Himmer is rocking today. Watch out. Okay. At least 14 members of Kevin McCarthy's own political party say they have doubts for whether or not they're going to support him for Speaker. 5 of those are firm no's at this point. And with the GOP holding just the slimmest of majorities already in the House, Kevin McCarthy can only afford to lose 4 votes. So he's already upside down right now. If he can't marshal support, the House will have to vote again. A new candidate could emerge. He or she would not even have to be a member of Congress, so maybe a surprise candidate. We don't know. We'll cover it as it happens. But until the House elects a speaker, as I said, it will remain gridlocked. It can't even swear in members or conduct any legislative business. Kevin McCarthy still refuses to give up on his bid for Speaker.
Are you going to stay in the race, Leader McCarthy? You're not dropping off.
I'm not going anywhere. We did have an intense conference. There's times we're going to have to argue with our own members if they're looking at for only positions for themselves, not for the country. I will always fight to put the American people first, not a few individuals that want something for themselves. So we may have a battle on the floor, but the battle is for the conference and the country, and that's fine with me.
So, my co-host, I have missed you.
I have missed you.
What in the world? Are we looking at a situation where we'll have more than one vote to get a speaker, do you think?
Potentially, and I think what's interesting is that bird's eye view looking into this, which is essentially saying what is best for the party and therefore what is best for the country is more of a cohesiveness than we're seeing right here. There are a lot of warning signals and alarms being sent that say you actually are not advancing the goals of the party by trying to sabotage, their words, not mine, what's going on right now with McCarthy. So, for example, the New York Post editorial board, they wrote a scathing rebuke of the Freedom Caucus this morning, and they said, what is your plan right now? There's 5 of you. And instead of saying, okay, we've been denied power for these last few years, finally we have it, let's get to work, let's put aside our 1, 2, 3 requests, and instead ensure McCarthy's in that leadership position so that we can start assembling legislation and so that we can start these investigations. They say, let's have a little bit more breathing room for the party because that is what advances the ball so much further. So I think what's interesting is that outside chatter. I understand, the stalking horse being put into play and fine, but I think we don't yet have that position where we have the luxury to fight over this minutia.
That's a really good point.
The shield is more important right now than those yard by yard advancements.
Power is a privilege, it's a luxury, but you got to have it first. I mean, can you imagine what happens if Nancy Pelosi has to appoint a Democratic clerk while they work this out?
Yeah. Margins matter, Harris, and if you go back to the midterms, we had Republicans in some cases winning as many as 246 seats. Had they done that, this would not even be an issue today for Kevin McCarthy. They actually underperformed at the lowest margin within our own power ranking.
Now, Joe Biden says
they hit the number.
It's because of him. Do you think that?
Because of Joe Biden?
Because of his policies. He takes credit for how Republicans didn't have a red wave.
If I were Joe Biden, I'd do the same thing. However, in this case for Kevin McCarthy, it doesn't appear right now that he has the votes. Just this morning, I don't know if you saw Scott Perry, a Republican from Pennsylvania. He was on Fox and Friends, and he just lit it up. By the way, he's not one of those 5 that were in question.
Right, he's one
part
of the 14.
a different basket. Now, what McCarthy has done over the weekend is try to cut some deals with these lawmakers, but it seems that even those concessions that he's offered have not been enough to persuade them.
Well, no, because, they realize they can get more. And they're up against the wall. So when you talk about you're only going to need 5 votes to take a speaker out, right? So that's making history right there. Kevin McCarthy has capitulated on that point for the far left or far right, excuse me, in his party, and now they want more. Well, of course they do.
Yes, but what they also want is they want for the potential speaker to acknowledge that the status quo is not enough. And that's what voters said, you know, it was supposed to be a red wave, supposed to be a red tsunami. It wasn't. And Joe Biden is over here, the house is on fire, and he's lighting a cigar, congratulating himself.
Of course.
And the country is on a pathway to hell. And a vast majority of voters acknowledge that. He got what he wanted because every voter hates everyone in Congress. They hate everyone in power. And I think some of these people, the minority of Republicans, are saying the status quo is not enough. We have to do something different. It can't just be whatever we've done before because that hasn't worked. Remember, Kevin McCarthy could have been speaker before, and he withdrew before the vote. So I think he's already damaged goods to a lot of people in the party. They want the Republican Party to stand for the American people and to stand for something different than what they've already been doing.
You know what? You put the argument much like Bob Goodman, Republican out of Virginia, congressman. Good.
Yeah.
Did I not say it right?
No, that's all right.
So to me, it is about having an argument that there can be more, having a difference, having all that. And isn't that kind of what the left did with Nancy Pelosi when Tim Ryan ran against her?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, so
but he ran as a moderate, and they're not running from the middle of the party. They're running to make the country better, to make government smaller, which is heresy in Washington.
I know that a doctor probably can't fix it, but this one maybe.
We can try, but you know, the chaos, the uncertainty, it's definitely unsettling. But at the end of the day, what do Americans want? We want to see our leaders, the Republican Party, we want to see them unify. We want to see them come together and fight for the rights and the needs of their constituents. And what is that? The gas prices, crime, the cost of living, inflation. And instead, what we're seeing is these 5 holdouts, these stubborn Republicans who, you know, don't look at the big picture and what's best for not only their party, but for Americans and for their constituents. I mean, look, nobody's perfect, but look what McCarthy has done. Both in 2020 and 2022, he gained seats for the House. He's unveiled his commitment to America. He's given concessions. I believe also the motion to vacate as well. But, you know, nobody's perfect, but we got to look at the big picture and not hold out on what the Republicans need to do. Start their investigations on Afghanistan. Start the investigations on the origins of COVID. The FBI files, the Twitter files. There's so much work that needs to be done. And even they can't get sworn in. My brother-in-law, Mike Waltz, is supposed to get sworn in today. I can't even congratulate him.
Well, you can. He's just a congressman-elect again, as of 8.5 minutes ago.
That's true.
Before we move forward on this vote today, when they take this vote, and however this shakes out, if we get to a second vote, is that better or worse?
Yeah, not sure because we haven't been there in 100 years. Newt Gingrich over the weekend was talking about Kevin McCarthy or chaos. Can you imagine if McCarthy even gets the job, wherever gets the job? It appears as if this is a majority in the House that's going to be full of surprises at every turn. And if you're talking about making the country better, Perry this morning was talking about a vote on a balanced budget, vote on the Texas border plan, a vote on term limits, a vote on individual earmarks, et cetera, et cetera. I think a lot of Republicans agree with all those principles.
It's true.
Why they couldn't get a deal is, it defies me at the moment.
Congressman Walsh, who I did not know was your brother-in-law, told me just last hour that the first thing they want to get done is to wipe away that $1 billion for those 87,000 IRS agents, which was part of the faux Inflation Reduction Act. So there is some immediacy where you could find agreement. It's amazing that maybe that won't happen, or maybe it will today.
Yeah, absolutely, especially with the omnibus didn't give much resources specifically to the Border Patrol agents rather than processing.
Yep. All right, we'll move on. You can see we're kind of fired up about this sort of thing.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.